What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. The highly anticipated new Ryan Murphy series, Hollywood, has dropped. Today we're going to talk about it. I binged through all 7 episodes of what looks to be a limited series. So a group of aspiring actors and filmmakers in post-World War II Hollywood try to make it big, no matter the cost. You have Ian Brennan and Ryan Murphy together once again. Obviously, Ryan Murphy, you recognize the name from things like, most recently, The Politician, but also American Horror Story, Glee, Scream Queens. And not to say I'm back and forth on Ryan Murphy, because most of the time I like what he puts out, but every now and then he'll put out a show or one season of American Horror Story. I'm just like, yeah, maybe it's not as good as the other stuff. But he is obviously a force in Hollywood. He's also a force in the TV business, man. He works with every platform. He works with almost every company. And he consistently puts out, even if I'm not the biggest fan of it, quality content. So I didn't know what to expect with Hollywood. And I'll be flat honest with you. The first 3 episodes, well, 2-3 episodes, I'm sitting back going, I don't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it. And not that it was bad, but we were dealing with a lot of what it means to try and make it into Hollywood. And it says this in the summary, no matter the cost. And the cost is high in the first couple of episodes. And many moments made me uncomfortable. We're dealing with things like prostitution and the lengths that people will go to just to get a part, or just to get recognized, or just to make it in Hollywood. And obviously, this is a fictional tale. For the most part, we do incorporate plenty of things that made Hollywood great way back when. So I'm not going to sit here and say all of these things are true, but it does make you kind of look at it and say, well, I'm sure some of these elements were true, maybe still are true, but it's not something that I wanted to necessarily focus on as much as we did, just because of how odd is going to make a lot of audience members feel, and it's something you're going to have to get past to really appreciate what this series brings, because at the end of the day, I look back at my experience, and it got so much better as we progress, because once we get past how they got their shot in Hollywood, and those things continue to carry out, obviously, we're going to keep up with those storylines, but we really start to move into this one movie that is going to change everything, that all of our characters are involved in somehow, or they're trying out for, and that movie is called Meg. Don't want to give away which route it goes down, but it turns into a story of hope for these characters. This is their shot. This is their chance to not only prove that they can do it, but to change the way that the industry works, because what we're dealing with in the middle portion of this season is the fact that we are creating a film, or trying to create a film, with the first ever black lead actress and the first ever black writer. And obviously some people involved are going to be very trepidatious about that fact, because maybe they don't want to see the world change in that way. And this is something that's obviously going to resonate with us today, because we see the industry continuing to change even now in 2020, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, sometimes agendas get in the way to where us as fans can appreciate things. And I get these comments all the time, well, this movie's pushing too much of an agenda, and this show is a bit too on the nose. And I did feel that way at first about Hollywood. Won't lie to you. The first couple of episodes, while the acting was really good, and Ryan Murphy is obviously doing his job as a talented filmmaker and writer, I just wasn't necessarily resonating with the source material. But as soon as we kind of push those things to the side and focus on this one goal that everyone has, it's to do something right for once in their lives. And we get to that point with most of the characters. We get moments where they break down and they realize that the path that they're on, even if it's a really bad path, may not be the path that suits them, even if it gets in the way of their dreams. And that's what I really enjoyed about this show, is we start to see some humanity in these characters. Maybe not the higher-ups. Certain higher-ups, absolutely. But there are still those people involved that just want their agendas to go in a specific way. And that is realistic. I mean, you may not like some of these characters, and you may not like how this show plays out in certain portions, but that is something that we see today, not only in Hollywood, but in real life. Agendas are agendas, and sometimes you can try your best to change them, but at the end of the day, these people are still going to be snobby and nasty, and one character in particular, played by Jim Parsons, I was shocked at the turn. I mean, he did a wonderful job. I just couldn't believe he had this side in him. And really packs a punch. I could not believe how well he did in this role. And really everyone involved. The acting is awesome. You have David Cornsweet, who plays Jack Costello, and he's the guy that we start out with, you know. We're with him on this journey from beginning to end, and it's rough in patches at the beginning, but things start to break his way, go in his direction, and life becomes a tad bit sweeter, and I love the way that Ryan Murphy showcased that. Laura Harrier plays Camille, and it's so funny. I was just watching Spider-Man Homecoming the other day, and I'm like, it's weird that I haven't seen this girl in anything else, and not a couple of days later, she is one of the main players in Hollywood, and she is fantastic. She plays the young black actress looking for this role, and her husband is actually the director of the film, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything is going to break in her direction. Those people still have to sign off that are above them. And thankfully, while some aren't the best, there are others in place that are willing to do the right thing, even if it means it's going to be a backlash for their studio, even if it means that they may not be able to get their film in a theater in the South. We're still going to do this. We're going to try to take this risk. Or at least that's what they push for. I thought Darren Criss was fantastic. Jeremy Pope. Samara Weaving. How could I wait this long to talk about Samara Weaving? Samara Weaving's in the show. I didn't know. She was so good. She's good in everything, okay? There's not one bad thing she can do. But she was perfect, and while at first you're like, I don't know if I like this girl and the way that she's acting, but then you start to realize she has this side to her that is really heartfelt, and she does something in the middle of this series that I thought was awesome. And this series started to showcase that the characters, not all of them, obviously, some of them do have a heart, and they're willing to do the right thing. Another person I want to bring up is Dylan McDermott, who was fantastic. I'm talking awards worthy, possibly. He gave a very different turn, not what we're used to from Dylan McDermott, but man, oh man, his character was one of the more important, integral. Maybe at first he's not the most likable guy because he is kind of involved with the bad side of Hollywood, but you start to realize where he and many other of these characters are coming from. And like I said, they don't all stay down that path at the beginning, a path that I definitely wouldn't sign off on. They slowly start to realize that Hollywood, at this point in time, is one big messed up operation. And whether it's the time period or just the way that this was brought to light and the style that Ryan Murphy brings to a show like this, it was glamorous, it was fabulous, it was everything that I think fans of Ryan Murphy are going to want visually and audibly. It captured the time period in such a way that we haven't seen in quite a while. And in that vein, it's very cinematic. Sure, it's a Netflix series, whatever, but it just looks great. You're going to continue to get cameos throughout, whether it's a Queen Latifah or a role as big as Jim Parsons had, one that I didn't expect. And like I said at the beginning of the review, and this is why when you review a series, you have to watch through all of it. You can't just watch the first half, because it goes from being something that I expected to go in a certain direction and keep on the path that it was on, to a series that does not shy away from the hypocrisy, the double standards that some people in Hollywood used to and probably still have. It brings together things that actually happen within the industry and these new interpretations of movies and shows and actors and actresses that did exist back then, but with new names and being portrayed in a very different way. I just thought it was a really spectacular combination on the filmmaker's part. And I did start to become invested. You're rooting for those who you know aren't going to make it because they don't necessarily have the talent, but they do have the personality. And then those that you do believe are going to make it, are they going down the wrong path? Are they doing what's right for them and their family? And that's the thing. Some of these individuals, they have families, they have wives, they have kids, and they continue to make the wrong decisions. It's just, it's baffling. And I know, obviously, this is fabricated, but it's baffling how some of these things actually went down. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, it won me over. I'm not going to sit back and say this is the best series I've watched all year, or it lived up to the expectations of everyone involved because of the cast and the crew. But I had a good time with it. I was entertained. If you give it time, I think it's going to win a lot of you guys over, and you are going to get that interpretation of Hollywood that I think many are going to be looking for. I've even talked myself to a higher score. But before I get there, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate all of the comments that you guys always leave me, your support, that thumbs up button. It really does help out this channel. And I'm going a solid 7 out of 10. I'm going a 70%. I've talked myself up a little bit because I was entertained. I did really like the style. I love the cameos. And by the time you get to episode 4 and 5, and I will say episode 4, you're really dealing with an important topic. And I know some are going to scoff and shake it off at first, but watch the episode play out. Most will get this emotional gut punch that I think really resonates. And episode 4, probably my favorite episode of the entire season, but it only gets better from there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy this series. More things to watch this weekend, so I better get on it. I'll see you soon.